with "Send me the pillow that you dream on," and it was a horrible experience. The things that have changed now are that there's no sign on the bathroom that says colored only, or, you know, and people get filmed when things happen like that. But there's a lot of stuff that's still the same, and I really understand all of the angst. And I really wanted to just say that I have a friend that's been making these portraits. She's starting to the people that this is George Floyd. And I just think Jane Fritchie has made the most, she's one of my pataphysical friends. And this is a beautiful, it makes me cry when I just look at it. It's a beautiful portrait. And I thought we'd have a moment of silence just in thinking about that, and then move on to boxes and ideas from our friends. So let's do that if you don't mind. I think that's it. That's about as long as I can stay silent, actually. So I just really want to thank Xander Weaver-Scull, who has been a member, and he is a native of West Marin and has grown up here. And he's going to talk. And Zea Morvitz is a founding member of the gallery. And Toni Littlejohn is also a founding member and is now a board member and is really carrying a heavy load. And Shelley Rugg is going to be doing all the mechanics of this. So thank you all. And without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to Zea.
Hi, everyone. As Vickisa told you, I'm a member of Gallery Route 1 since its beginning. And I think I've made a box in almost every box show, but not every one. But before I get into the showing you my box and talking about boxes in general, I just want to let everyone know that Gallery Route 1 really believes that artists have something to say about our lives today and our society today. And we have a space in the gallery for visiting artists who exhibit on environmental issues, on immigration, and on social justice. And this is an invitation to artists of color, particularly. If you have work that addresses social justice issues, we would like to hear from you. So you can contact us through the gallery website, because we will be looking for shows on this topic. It has to come from a very personal place. That is important to us. Artists must speak for themselves and for their own experiences. So now about boxes. Before I even begin my box every year, I look at the premier box artist that I can think of, and that is Joseph Cornell. And maybe Shelley can put up the first image, the parrot. Okay, so this kind of work you can see in all the major museums all over the world. I've seen, at the Metropolitan in New York, so this is this is an important artist. He spent a lot of time kind of going through, I would say, secondhand stores and places and accumulating his vocabulary. And what interests me most about this piece is that it's structured like a painting within a frame, but it isn't a painting, it's a three-dimensional object. And I think this adds to the mystery of it. And there is an artist who has made boxes for the past few years, whose name unfortunately escapes me, who uses some of Joseph Cornell's icons, and you'll recognize them, and they're wonderful homage to Joseph Cornell. So the second, if Shelley will show the second image. Shelley? Yeah, there we are. This is another kind of a box that Joseph Cornell made. I would say they're like sample cases or kits, which also interests me, and you'll see how I actually did one like this. They're always full of mysterious objects. You don't know what they are or, you know, exactly what they're meant to be. And I find myself very much attracted to the whole kit notion. So this is another, Joseph Cornell made many different kinds of boxes. These are only two of the kinds, and they're the kinds that interest me the most. So now I will show you my box that I made a few years ago. This is a kit for rubber stamps. And my partner and husband, Tim, made the box itself and made this wonderful glass front, which to me is like so important and also recalls Joseph Cornell. And then I made these rubber stamps. I carved them, I hand carved them, and made the handles for them. And he made the holder. And then I'm also a book artist, so I made a couple of books, one showing the stamps as they're stamped, you know, the way I would do them, of course. And then one was blank, and it was an invitation to whoever bought the box to make their own, you know, book of stamps. Unfortunately, they didn't seem to take the invitation, and when I got this box back, the second book, which is also hanging on this hanger, was empty, was blank. But this is sort of my idea of a kit. And it has the hardware, the strap, the hinges, and the whole and real glass on the front. So that was my project.
Thank you. And let's see, Xander is coming up next to share his wealth of knowledge.
Thank
so
you.
Come on, Xander.
Thank you. Thank you. As I was introduced, my name is Xander Weaver-Scull. I've been a member of the gallery for, I think it's coming up on 3 years now. And I made my first box when I was 10 years old. I'm 30 years old now. But when I was 10 years old in a collaboration with my mom, and that was my first introduction to Gallery Route 1. And since then, I went off on my own art journeys, and I'll show you a piece of art. Have gotten into making stencils as well as making my own paints and inks. So this is a stenciled piece using earth paints as well as black charcoal ink that I've made. So the last several years when I've made my box, or I guess you could say I've unmade my box, I'm the one who, during the box show, my art is just on a piece of paper hanging on the wall. made out of black ink. And my process is to take my box and break it up into a whole bunch of pieces. And then I take those pieces and stick them inside of, this is a metal clean paint tin. Fill this up with wood, make sure I puncture a hole to let out any pressure, and I put it in a fire for a few hours. And what that does is it cooks the pine wood and cooks all the moisture and everything out so that all I'm left with is almost pure carbon. These beautiful shiny pieces of charcoal that I could just draw directly with, but instead I take it a step further. I take my charcoal and I put it in my mortar and pestle. I crush it, I grind it, turn it into this beautiful black, very, it's even showing up in little dust motes in the screen. Beautiful black powder that is finer than sand. Oop, there we go. And with that powder, I have my pigment for my ink, and I then take my plum tree every year oozes out these beautiful pieces of plum resin. And to make inks, you need something that's a binder, a glue that will hold the ink, or in this case, the charcoal box to the paper. And just about any fruit tree sap works well as a binding agent. And if you were to buy a binder from a store, it would be gum arabic, but this is my beautiful plum resin that I mix together and make my ink out of, and then I paint with the box onto paper. And I've been doing that for several years and just really enjoy the process of changing the box's form and creating something new with it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Xander. Thank you very much. It's an amazing process, and it's completely different from what Toni Littlejohn does. So why don't we, she has a little video too, so I think it's gonna be very great to see. So go for it, Toni.
I'm very thrilled to be here and happy that you are all watching and listening. I am a founding member of Gallery Route 1, and I did the Artists in the Schools program, and when I left it, I soon became the board president. So I have been a participant in the box show, I believe, for every year but one. And for many years now, I have been working with willows that grow. I live right near a creek, and there are just many, many willows. What I find about making the box and working with the willows is that it's a very meditative process, actually, that the process of collecting and stripping and sanding and forming is actually asks me to calm down and to plan. And it really helps with all the agitation and angst that I'm feeling right now in these really difficult times. And so, shall we show the little video? It's kind of a sketch. I live next to a creek with lots of willows that continue to expand into the meadow. I've been drawn to incorporate the willows into my artwork for many years now. I first begin by asking permission of the willows to be utilized. During the spring and summer months, the bark strips off easily, revealing the underlying wood. My intention is to create a sense of ascension, of uplift, since that's what I feel the willows offer to me. Sometimes I get a little help from my friend. Over the years, I've made many ladders. This ladder was in the Oakland Museum's exhibit, What is Art For? And this next ladders were for Commonweal, where the architectural space told me completely what to construct. For the box show many years ago, I built a home for Baba Yaga, using willow branches for its feet. Next, I built a house for the Buddha. And then I made an elevated box. With the smallest box ever in the box show, I built a barge so it could float into the underworld. This led to incorporating electric light utilizing copper foil to enhance the radiance. Last year, I added the element of braiding the bark onto the willow structure to make my piece. So the box show has been about 20 years is how long we've been doing the box show. And it's been a fabulous fundraiser for us. It really matches our mission statement, which is to serve our community and to engage our community, and to art that helps us to re-envision our lives, basically. And it's our major fundraiser. And we are so appreciative of all the different box artists that have participated over the years in spending many, many, many hours in building their box and thinking about their box, talking about their boxes, and the many people who have bid high so that they could take these precious boxes home with them. And it's really heartwarming to go into people's houses when we're able to do that again, and see how they have collected and cherished these boxes over the years. So I hope that you will be a participant as a box buyer, as a box maker, and be part of our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Toni. I feel that's kind of hard to follow, I have to say. I think you really did that video was beautiful. I just wanted to share these few boxes. Yeah, I hope you can see them. I don't have a printer. I had to rely on the kindness of strangers. And I ended up with my box, one of my boxes. And I'm not sure, can you see? Oh, good. It's going away now. But as you may have guessed, my boxes are all about me and about what's happening to me. I have to, and my dog just sneaks in every time. But these things, the way that Toni's box is going, where it's a definitive type of material that can change in very, very many ways. I mean, it's really great when there's some kind of a flow between the boxes. But you know, anything is up for grabs. It's your box, and it's something that we're really appreciative of. And I just wanted to share that with you. And then I really wanted to just talk about Bobby Pinn, because I think you guys know Bobby Pinn, or I knew him from the box show only, but he was stricken with the coronavirus, and he was one of our box artists. And I wanted to just read this little tribute or glimpse of Bobby Pinn. So Bobby Pinn was a box artist, and he was one of a kind, Burning Man's beloved blue hair photographer, lost to COVID-19 at 50. And his birth name was My Pinn. Dan Greening, his partner of 10 years, said he would be comfortable doing almost anything as long as it was safe. I would have added fun, because he really seemed like a guy who liked to have fun. And Pinn would likely contracted the coronavirus while at Vail. From Vail, he flew to Hawaii just before the virus began to sweep the nation. As soon as he and Greening arrived in Hawaii, they began to self-quarantine. And actually, he died there. He was born in northwestern city of Battambang, Cambodia. And at 5, he was one of the first Cambodian refugees to flee to the US in the 1970s. They lived in a Red Cross camp at first, and he lived in lots of places: Seattle, California, Utah, Michigan, and he was most recently a resident of Stockholm, Sweden, which I didn't know. He loved to travel. He loved scuba diving and trying out new hair colors. He was an award-winning filmmaker. This is what I found by checking him out. He was award-winning filmmaker, a proud burner, and assisted with Burning Man documentation. He once brought up a ton of bananas on a whim and decided to hand them out for participation in an erotic photo series. In recent years, he worked for the SF Film, the Mill Valley Film Festival, and the Sundance Film Festival. Bobby Pinn's father taught him to fix clocks in the hope that he'd pass on his business to him. Well, that didn't happen. But his last box, if you remember, was a clock, a neon blue clock, and quite beautiful and different. He discovered that many of the villages in Cambodia didn't have fresh water that was potable, and he decided to go back in 2020, and that was what he was going to focus on and help local families get access to the water they needed. This was in his Facebook post, and this was the last box show for Bobby Pinn. So if you're drinking something, raise a glass. And if you're not in this time, why not? No. Now I'm going to move on to question and answers. So raise your hand. There's not a whole lot of people, so it's really easy for me to see your hand, or you can do it in the chat. Jonathan, I didn't even know you were here.
I snuck in, I disguised as a box. I have two questions, and they're really just confirming questions. Since this is my first year in the box show, there is no theme. There's no overarching theme, question one. And secondly, we can work outside the confines of the box, correct?
You can work outside. The only rules of the box show, I'll take this one, if you don't mind, is no live animals or living things that we have to take care of. And there's a size restriction for the width of the box because, of course, we can't fit. It's 150 boxes. But basically, is there anything about batteries that was written?
No batteries.
No batteries. That's the other one.
And don't you have to use the box? You have to use
You have to.
Yeah,
use
you have
the
to use
box.
it, of course. Yeah. Okay, and no overarching theme. Just
Not at
anything
all.
that moves our soul.
And moves the box along to somebody who really wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Okay,
It's
good.
our hope.
Thank you. I'll put myself on mute then. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you for inviting me.
Thinking outside the box is definitely welcome.
Anybody else have a question or an answer?
I have an
It's good to
answer.
see you all. Go ahead. Of course you do, LaRonda. Oh my gosh, thanks for coming.
So no live animals, no toxic materials,
Oh,
no batteries. So everything, you can't have a battery. I've seen other boxes that use batteries that are cell phone batteries, and they tend to last throughout the entire show. But the reason why we kind of insist on no batteries is because alkaline batteries tend to wear out like very quickly. And then it's sort of left up to the gallery to pay for those things and to change them out. And I think that's sort of unfair, at least at this point. So that was one of the reasons why the switch was made. No toxic materials. Let's see what else. You have to use the box in some way. Our rules don't really say how much of the box to use, but you do have to use it in your final piece. I'm trying to think. Vickisa, what else?
I think that anybody else can comment if they have it, but I think that's got it.
Well, I think the size is really important. And I don't remember.
I can't remember what, but it's in the paperwork, I believe.
Yeah, because it just becomes unwieldy. And it also doesn't, if you make your box too big, it doesn't fit in people's homes. And you know where it ends up? In the back room of Gallery Route 1. We really don't want that to happen. We want these boxes to go to people's homes. So think about things that that speak to people and that they would cherish.
But it's your box, and you can do something fabulous with it.
Of
You
course.
know, but think about it being balanced and it being, all of those things that don't make it impossible.
Oh, I remember now. No self-promoting.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. So how do we get these rules? Well, it takes one person to kind of push the boundaries, and then all of a sudden we have a rule. I remember several years ago there was actually no height restriction, and when I was in the gallery, I would say, if you can get it in through the door, it was in the show. And then that year we had someone that built what looked like a voting booth, and then the next year there was a restriction. So I think the height is 40 inches, and I believe that the width now got reduced from that was a little bit wider down to 30. And you're right, there are, when you make a really large box, what I've noticed when I'm in the gallery in terms of the bids, sometimes those are the boxes that take forever to get bids on just because of the size, unless it's a really well-known artist and you really like their work. But yeah, typically,
Or you need an outbuilding.
yeah, yeah, and literally there's constraints in the gallery, and that's why the boxes have to be within a certain width and size.
But I would like to say, if anybody needs help, I mean, call upon the gallery. You know, don't feel shy about asking for help if it's your first box. Anybody else have anything? Leo? Unmute yourself, Leo.
Well, I'm the first time box maker. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first time box maker, I watercolor paint, and I'm an architect, and cabinet maker. So I thought I could do this. And it's very helpful to hear all of you speak on the spectrum of what's possible. Thank you.
All right, good luck, Leo. Can't wait to see what you're going to do.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I'm unmuting myself. Does anybody else have a question or an answer?
I do.
Where? Who said I do?
Right here. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Last year I was going to do a box that was a little bit over the top, I guess, as far as my husband was concerned. And so I changed it. It had to do with Trump. And he had read that in Oregon, in a gallery, a Trump thing had, people got mad and attacked the gallery. So it got me so concerned, I did a very tame version of my first box after that. Do you have any concern in terms of political topics being over the top?
That's a good question. Anybody want to take that? I mean, you know, if something is going to really be like an assault on somebody, there are children that do come into the gallery. Nudes are okay, but you know, think about there's an audience.
I was doing kind of a funny voodoo doll after being in New Orleans for 2 weeks, so I had all the voodoo supplies. I thought it was sort of funny, but
Yeah, I think if it's humorous,
For
nothing
sure.
wrong with
for
humor.
me it was humorous, but I don't know.
I think
What's the
that
history of the box show with politics, and how far do you push it?
There's always something about political, and it's important. There's a lot of political things happening right now that people may want to address, and we've been talking about it right now.
But
Yeah.
think about having Trump's face
Yeah,
in your house forever.
oh
You know,
God.
that's
there you go.
part of the issue.
And people do save the boxes forever.
Oh.
I mean, the boxes are a piece of art that lives in their house forever.
And there are political boxes that are in the show, and usually sometimes in the installation, there usually is a section that's devoted to politics and the environment or spirituality. They're sort of, when they do the installation, they try to have the themes be present so that you get a sense of what people are thinking about. So politics, yes, you know, and to also really think that about it being a fundraiser, basically. So it's an interesting, you know, we always get to walk these tightropes.
Yeah.
And so we really value what you are going to make and help Gallery Route 1. And Gallery Route 1 does have really strong shows about social justice, about the environment, immigration. So this is, you know, in a certain way to think about it as being a help for Gallery Route 1 to fulfill its mission statement more fully. So maybe that can help a little bit in what you do.
Guillotine is going too far, maybe.
What is going to
The guillotine is going too far.
Oh, not for me.
No, that's not necessarily true. But when you
But
get
you-
started,
no,
when you get going,
no.
call us. And
You never know. The first box I made it and I thought, oh my God, this is totally inappropriate. Nobody will ever get this. It was totally about me. It had x-rays of my hands and my spine and a head made out of medical records. I mean, and somebody bought it. So you just don't know.
You never know. Yeah.
You never know. And I think as artists, we do have a responsibility to be involved and to show, you know, what's
Yeah,
going on in the
agreed.
world.
Well,
And
I
it's
think there's
your-
always
it's
a
your show. It's your
certain
box. It's your,
percentage that are
idea.
political. Hello?
Just want to remind you, Bernie, and everyone, make sure that you don't, try not to interrupt because it overlaps and then we don't hear what people are saying. Okay?
All right.
Yes, and we are recording this for posterity.
Oh boy.
Just as long as it will last as long as your boxes. What I was going to say is that people, if you really want to know about boxes, go on the website. There's a lot of great stuff on our website right now anyway, but on the website you'll find the archives of boxes from last year. And it was really great to remember, you know, the boxes and go through them. So that's a good hint of the variety that you might find.
Bernie,
Steal from the best and make up the rest.
Bernie, what were you going to add?
Well, I was just going to say that there's always a percentage of political images that come through. And, you know, we have an area specifically for that, as much as you said about religious and so forth. But some of the issues that come through politically can be rather pointed. And I think we're in a period that is rather pointed. What we're doing with the pandemic, I'd be interested to see what will come in reference to the pandemic, because it's changed our lives. I mean, I know it's certainly changed mine. And I'd be curious to see that other side of things. I mean, I personally always do dioramas, miniature dioramas about West Marin because I love it. But there are other people that really sort of stick it to people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's an opinion and it should be valued for that. That's it.
Does anybody else have a question or an answer that they'd like to share?
I have a question.
Good, Natalie, because it's so good to see you. Go ahead.
Hi, it's good to see you too. I'm Natalie. I'm also a first-time box maker. I was wondering, sort of with COVID that's going on right now, do we have any ideas like what form the show might take if things are still bad, which they probably will be?
That was my next idea of talking about it. And then I really thought, what am I going to say? You know, I
think it would be good to have Jenny Lynn address this issue.
Is she still, I think she might not be here.
Here she comes.
Can you see me?
She
Not
heard.
yet.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Oh, I have to turn it on here. Sorry.
No worries.
So we don't really know. I mean, if we can open during the time of the box show, it would be pretty easy to manage the silent auction part by allowing just a fixed number of people in the gallery at a time. The boxes are all going to be online, and we've asked artists to submit photos of their boxes in progress if they want to. We ask all of the artists to submit statements. So we're hoping that even if the show isn't in August, that we can do a long period of promotion for it and either have it later in the year or at the very worst case scenario would be an online auction. But we're hopeful that in September, there might be the possibility to have the live auction outside. So we would bring a group of boxes outside and auction them out, hopefully maybe near the gallery, so we wouldn't have that far to walk. But the most important thing is safety for everyone. So we're not going to do anything unless we can do it safely. We just have to ask people to be patient because we really don't know. We talk about it and it's like throwing darts at a moving target. You know, we don't really even know when we'll be open.
We have to, you know, we have to be flexible. It's a crazy, crazy time. We all know it. It's so good to see all of you. Gosh, I'm really glad you're the first one. Hi, Terry, did you have your hand up?
No, I just got here because I was working. Sorry, I'm late.
Well, hey, we're just glad to see you. And speaking of that, we're going to have another one of these. Well, does anybody want to say, how was this for you? I mean, did you feel it was worthwhile hanging out together and doing this?
Yes.
Nod.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody got? So anyway, we have planned to do it again on the 10th of June at the same time. 5 o'clock seems, you can, you know, have a glass of wine and do your meeting and getting together. And Kathy Calloway, I was called several people to ask if they would join us as speakers, and Kathy Calloway has agreed to do that. And I'm going to be there, and I'm not sure if, LaRonda, were you?
Yeah.
I called Bernie, I called LaRonda, and I called, I wanted to get a couple, Molly and Larry, but so far, that's what we have.
Vickisa,
Mm-hmm.
we will put these videos on our website.
Great.
So for anybody that missed them or came in late or whatever, you'll be able to see it.
Leo?
Oh, thank you.
Box sizes, are they all the same or are they different?
They're all the same this year, which I like, and some people don't. It's interesting.
That's good. No, they're all the same.
I agree.
What size are they?
You have to come and get your box and see.
This Sunday?
12 to 3.
12 to 3 this Sunday.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
You know, and I also wanted to share with you in between licks that I'm going to have a radio show. Coastal Airwaves is back, my radio show on KWMR, and I'm going to do it on June 18th at 4 o'clock on the third Thursday of a month. So every month I'll do a radio show. And that third Thursday, I'm going to do a radio show about box artists. And so that's coming up on the 18th, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
Yay.
So, yeah, thanks. Applause. LaRonda.
Yeah, so for the new box show artists, I know this may seem kind of like overwhelming the first time you ever get your box, but don't let it be. I have talked to many artists who start out and they don't seem to quite find their feet, and don't worry about it. For me, it took me 3 years in order to find where I thought I was headed, but how I started and where I ended up have been completely different, because each year I can grow from what I did the previous year. And the other thing is, take a look throughout the gallery or actually online, because a lot of the boxes are online, to see what kind of art is being done. I can tell you from being in the gallery, when I talk to people, the more that I knew about the box, the more I could impart that information. So that's always really helpful, because sometimes looking at the box, sometimes for some people it doesn't make any sense. And that my job was, how can I bring this artist and this art and bring it to the public and tell them this is what this artist really wanted to do, or what this artist is really trying to do. And that actually is really helpful, because then I start getting feedback from the public. And then I realize, what's really, what kind of gets jazzed, and what are the special boxes, and don't, for whatever it is, kind of like forget that as an artist and just concentrate on literally doing your best, doing the best that you can for the show. And I will say that I'm kind of a stickler for glue that seems to be, if you're using something that you're gluing into your piece, if you can see the glue, it kind of destroys the overall image. I kind of think of what Disney would say, don't let daylight upon the magic. And when you see how something is done, that's what you start to concentrate on as a person who's looking at things, compared to, I don't know what else to say, Vickisa. It's like, it's really important to do your best. And keep it clean. I think that's the best thing that I can say. And I'd like to say one more thing. All the boxes get bids. Not all the bidders pay for the boxes. And that's actually the truth. And we don't know why that is. It just happens. Maybe they had too much to drink when they came in to bid. But we are pretty diligent about the bids themselves. And when something looks suspicious, we immediately, at least I have immediately contacted either Toni or someone in authority to call the bidder to make sure that this was a correct bid. So there are serial bidders, and we tend to know who they are. So you may see like someone bidding really high bids on, say, several boxes. Don't get too freaked out. Usually, like I said, we know who those bidders usually are. They are pretty consistent in paying. So that's really good for us. There's some controversy about paying or bidding a lot for a box, which kind of stops all the bids, but we don't really have any control over that. I'm grateful that someone wants to bid whatever that amount is.
Okay, you're going to be on next time, LaRonda.
And also, you're moving all to bidding.
Just to let people know, LaRonda has the title of being the box show explainer. She loves to come in on weekends and talk to people about the boxes and talk about the stories that are within the boxes and about the boxes. And they're, she's just a huge devotee of the box show. And you've been a participant for how many years now, LaRonda?
I think this will be 17 years.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
17 years?
Yeah, I think it's been about 17 years.
Wow.
It seems like yesterday, right?
I really like what you brought up, the materials, and the glue is especially, and you know a lot about, I myself own about 20 kinds of glue, and I do really like the super glue by Gorilla. And the other thing I really, really like is paper clay. I have found, and I know LaRonda uses paper clay to build buildings with in her box, and paper clay is amazing. So I'm just putting, anybody else have a material share? Or are you going to keep it to yourself?
Your imagination. That's
there
the
you go.
material.
And I like when people make things, and I know a lot of people like to buy things, and then they can be put together or find things. But it is fun to make things out of paper clay, or anything for that matter. And does anybody else have anything else that they want to share or know? Okay, well, I'm hopeful that you'll tell people about this. The buzz is really important. Tell people what you're doing and get them excited, and keep the faith. And may you all be very safe and healthy and holding a fabulous box when you come into the gallery. And maybe we'll see you next, June 10th or at the gallery. So signing off. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Call me. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Oh, thank everybody for leaving notes in the chat about the presentation, Betsy and Megan, Isadora. Thank you very much for knowing how to do this. And thank you, Shelley, for presenting it for us. Really good job.
You're welcome. I'm sad to share the fact that I swear I hit the record button, but it wasn't recording until partway through your talk. So I apologize.
That's perfectly all right.
We expected a lot worse. I mean, with Zoom, you just don't know. You never know what's going to happen. So we are working out the kinks, but thanks for joining. And I'm going to leave. What about if you is everybody, yeah. Bye.
Bye.
That's it. We're good.
Well, there's still people here.
Oh, okay. Then I'll give you my peace, hug, hug.
Anybody still have questions out there?
Well, who's going to join me? I was hoping, no, next, I'll work it out. Kathy Calloway and LaRonda's going to do the
I'll be in.
radio show. Will you come on here? You want to do the next week?
Yeah, I'll do next week.
Okay.
If we're not doing anything medical, sure.
Well, can't promise.
I guess I'm going to stop the recording.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, Jenny Lynn, you all were great. Thank you.